Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another crime and wine episode, but it is also a missing persons case. So yeah, if y'all ready, let's go. So the year is 2014, and Alicia Fox is a 27-year-old married mom of two. She has a daughter named Kayla, who was born on November 8, 2007, and she has a baby boy named Christian, who was born on October 2nd, 2013. Kayla is 6 and Christian is 8 months. And her husband is Aaron Justice, who is the father of Christian. Kayla has her own father. So the month is May, and Aaron and Alicia have been married for just about 4 months. So they got married in January of 2014. It's now May of 2014, and they only been married for about 4 months. But things ain't going so good. Like, the honeymoon stage didn't last very long at all because, like I said, it's May, 4 months in. And Alicia has packed up her kids and have left the residence that she resided with Aaron. We don't know the circumstances behind her leaving, but Aaron got some priors, and he just ain't the best type of person in the world. You know what I mean? So it can only be assumed that it's due to some type of abuse, violence, and or just she probably wasn't happy. Either way, she picks up and she leaves with her kids. This is around like mid-May. So come Memorial Day weekend, her family sees her. It's May 24th, and she and her children are at a barbecue. Her, Kayla, and Christian having a good old time. Family members said that everything was fine. Nothing seemed off. Everything was just going as you would expect to go at a barbecue. Everybody eating, having a good time, laughing, the kids probably running around. Christian probably attached to his mama at the hip. Everybody trying to pinch on his cheeks and like hug on him and just hold him and stuff like that. Like I said, just a typical family function, nothing out of the ordinary. And after the family function for Memorial Day weekend, everybody go home, do their own thing, living their lives. You know, just pretty much going back to their lives. They done seen their family. They done had a good time. But, you know, back to reality. Up there goes gravity. And things pretty much just go back to normal. But that only lasts for about another 2 weeks, because on June 6th, Kayla's dad, remember I told y'all that Kayla has a separate dad than Christian. So he and his mom went to Kayla's school because Kayla was graduating kindergarten. And obviously, this is like a big moment in a parent's life. Your baby graduating kindergarten. They moving on to the next phase of their life. Everybody want to be there. Of course, the dad is going to be supportive. The grandma is being supportive. And they get to Kayla's school, and all the other kindergartners are up there singing and doing all of their graduation program stuff, like, you know, just everything that kids do at their kindergarten graduation. And Kevin, who is Kayla's dad, and his mama noticed that they don't see Kayla nowhere in this kindergarten crowd. So that raises a red flag right there. So they look around, and they also notice that, I mean, obviously Kayla's not there, so Alicia's not there either. Christian's not there. Aaron's not there. Like, literally nobody, none of them are there. So they like, what the heck is going on? Let's call her. Maybe she, I don't know, tired. I don't know why she would be missing her kid's kindergarten graduation, because she was tired. But, you know, they're just trying to figure out what's going on. So they call Alicia, and they don't get an answer. And they like, okay, that's odd. Because by all accounts, it kind of just seems like Kevin and Alicia had somewhat of an amicable relationship, because they was texting and calling each other. He knew about the baby's graduation, because you know how some parents can be real spiteful when they not with the daddy no more and not even tell kids about the graduation. I mean, tell daddies about the graduation. But this didn't seem to be the case. And like I said, Kevin and his mom called Alicia, and there was no answer. So since they didn't get an answer, they decided, like, okay, well, let's just pull up, because this is weird. So they go to the house that Alicia shared with Aaron, and once they get there, they kind of like looking in the windows, peeping around, like being creeps or whatever, but for a good reason. And they noticed that, like, when they're looking in the windows, it kind of looked like don't nobody live there. Like, all the stuff is gone. It's just like, okay, this is a problem. So they end up calling the police and reporting Alicia and the kids missing. However, the police kind of, I don't want to say they don't take it, yeah, they didn't take it seriously. Because by all accounts, Alicia picked up and left. You know what I mean? Remember, I told y'all she had packed up, I don't know if she like packed up all her stuff, but like she left Aaron, so she wouldn't be in the house. And if she picked up and left with her kids, like, that's her right. But at the same time, if she picked up and left with her kids, it's also the right of the dad to know where she took his daughter. So even though they didn't find it to be a like sense of urgency at the time, the police did end up issuing an urgent missing persons report for Alicia and the kids, but that wasn't until June 9th, which was about 3 days later. But between this time of like May 24th and June 9th, Alicia's family had actually kind of been looking for her, but I don't think they filed a police report. And if they did, I'm sorry, but there was nothing in my research that I found that said that the her family filed a missing persons report. Because again, remember, she left Aaron, and you know, everybody else went back to living their lives. And even though they didn't talk to her, I guess it wasn't like weird, but they was kind of, you know, just wondering where she was. But once June 6th hit, they really was like, okay. Just like Kevin and his mom, they was just like, okay. So they started like they started a search party, and they was handing out flyers, missing persons flyers. And the family had actually ended up getting an anonymous tip saying like, look, check this area, like she might be over here. So that's exactly what they did. So her uncle and her sister was searching in an area like in some abandoned houses on Penrod Street. And this is when her uncle went into the house, and he was like, he smelled this like foul odor. And all of us true crime, you know, people know that that's never a good thing. But he ended up, you know, following the smell in this abandoned house. And I just gotta commend this man, because that is some serious commitment right there. And I guess, I mean, obviously, you know, love knows no bounds, and you gonna go searching for this person. But I just, in an abandoned house, I'm scary. I'm not following the smell. I'm calling the police. But he's not me, and I'm not him. And he ended up following the smell, and he followed the smell all the way to the basement. And when he like found the source of the odor, he said that it was blankets and I guess a torn down door. And so he moved the door, and he kind of like shuffled the blankets or whatever, and he did end up finding his niece Alicia deceased in this house. And when he saw her, he said that he knew that it was a crime scene. It looked like her legs had been severed at the knees. Okay, real quick, I just want to say that the medical examiner determined that her legs had not been severed at the knees. It was just that she was so decomposed that it appeared to be that way. And they knew it was her because she had on particular articles of clothing that were like distinct to her. And obviously they call the police. The medical examiner comes, and the medical examiner determined that Alicia had passed away from 2 gunshot wounds to the head. She had actually been shot 6 times, but those were the wounds that were believed to have ended her life. So now it's like, okay, we have Alicia. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but we know what happened to her. So naturally, the police are going to go to the people who are, you know, the closest to Alicia. So they talked to Kevin, and he was fully cooperative. He told them everything that, you know, they needed to know. He told them the last time he spoke to her. So they talked to Kevin. He cooperates, tells them that. And then they find Aaron in Atlanta, and he's cooperative as well. He tells them the last time he seen Alicia, the last time he talked to her. But surprisingly, the kids aren't with him, and he says that he has no idea where the kids are. So now they have Alicia, and this is, you know, this is what happened to her, and this is where she was. But where are the kids? Nobody knows where the kids are at this point. And so that becomes the main focus. Not to say that the focus like shifts off of finding Alicia's killer, but the focus is now, you know, also geared towards finding these babies, because the daddies don't have them, and obviously they're not with Alicia. So the police get a search warrant for the house that Aaron and Alicia shared, and when they get inside, they find that there is blood splatter on the ceiling of the bedroom, and they also notice that there are bullet holes in the walls, and they found a couple shell cases in the wall as well. But the holes that were caused by the bullets had been plastered and attempted to be painted over. So whoever did this, it was kind of like, okay, you tried to cover this up, buddy. And I guess all signs, no, not surprisingly, lead it. Oh Lord. And based off of all the evidence that they found inside the house, they concluded that this crime was committed by none other than Aaron Justice. So on June 11th, the Detroit, I didn't even say where they was at. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so sorry. So on June 11th, the Detroit police, because that's where this crime happened at, got in contact with the police in Atlanta, and the police in Atlanta arrested Aaron Justice and charged him with first-degree murder of his estranged wife, Alicia Fox. So while Aaron is over here in Atlanta being arrested, a guy named Timothy Jones back up here in Detroit is apprehended, and he is accused of being an accessory after the fact. Now, it's not clear how Timothy became a suspect or how he got in contact with the police, like how they got his name or nothing like that. I don't know how that happened. But when he did, Timothy spilled it all, y'all. He sang like a damn canary. He basically told the police that yes, he was an accomplice. He did help after the fact, and he gave the details of like what happened. So for this portion, we're gonna have to like take it back, and we're gonna have to backtrack a little bit so that y'all can fully understand the timeline of everything that happened. So we back on May 24th, and Alicia and the kids are at the family gathering. And after the party, you know, was over and everything, she went back to wherever she was staying. And on the 25th, she went back to the house that she shared with Aaron. It's unclear as to why she went back. Like maybe he called her, maybe they were supposed to work it out. I don't know. But she did end up going back to the house with the kids. And this is when Aaron claims that he blacked out. And when he came to, he was literally shooting Alicia. And he put her body into the crawl space of the home. And then he called his friend Timothy. Now, him and Timothy have been friends for like years and years and years, like since childhood. And he called him over pretty much just to help him find some keys. And when Timothy got there, the keys that they were searching for were Alicia's keys. So he gets there and he sees Alicia's body in the crawl space. He's helping Aaron find the car keys. And when he asked Aaron what happened, that's when Aaron told him that he blacked out, and then he pretty much just came to shooting Alicia. So the detectives asked like, okay, so when you left the house, did you see the kids? And he was like, yeah. And they were pretty much like, okay, so what state were the kids in when you last saw them? And Timothy said that when he left the house, the kids was alive. And that kind of bothered me a little bit. Not the fact that they were alive, though. The fact that they were there in the first place. Like, so if you just shot this woman 5 to 6 times, put her into a crawl space, like, where were the kids in all of this? Did they hear their mother screaming for her life? Were they aware? Like, what? You know what I mean? Anyways, so then on May 27th, just about 2 days after Timothy reported being at the house and helping with Alicia, a U-Haul is rented by Aaron. And this is confirmed by U-Haul and neighbors in the area saying that they saw a U-Haul. So this particular neighbor said that they hadn't seen the couple, meaning Aaron and Alicia, for just about 2 days, since like around Memorial Day weekend. And then on the 27th is when he saw a U-Haul come. And it pretty much just looked like they were moving out of the house, like the family was moving out. Like, it wouldn't be unusual for them to spend a couple days in the new house, then come back. And you know how we do. We like stay in the new house, clean it up, get everything together for when we bring our stuff in. And so that's pretty much just what this neighbor said it seemed like. Since he didn't see them for a couple days, and then he saw the U-Haul and then stuff being moved out of the house, it didn't look unusual. It pretty much just looked like the family was moving. And on the other side, just about 7 miles away, on the same street as Alicia's body was actually found, neighbors reported also seeing a U-Haul. But this was a little weird though, because this U-Haul would just like kind of sit there. Like it wouldn't move. It wouldn't like be moving stuff right away. Like it would just be dormant, just sitting there for hours and hours and hours. And it was kind of weird because it was kind of sitting near the abandoned house. It also came out that between those days, like from the 27th to the 29th, where Aaron had the U-Haul, that he drove it 300 miles. But mind you, he never left the city of Detroit. So 300 miles just within the city, that's a lot of miles. So I did like a little bit of Googling and research and trying to see, you know, how far, because I know how far 3,000 miles is, but just to give me some type of like tangible, something tangible, I Googled it, and you can get from San Diego to Phoenix, Arizona in 300 miles. You know, like that's a whole nother state. And I know it's only like 3.5, maybe 4.5, 5 hours. I don't know. I forgot how long it is. But even though it's only some hours, y'all gotta like remember that those are highway miles. So that's different than like city street miles. That's a lot of miles. And then I had come to the conclusion that seeing as how he didn't leave the city, this ain't confirmed, by the way, I'm just saying, this is just my own conclusion, that based off of the neighbor's statements, it seems like those miles would have gotten run up by him kind of just sitting there and casing out the abandoned house. You know what I mean? Because I know y'all know that gas goes down as you just sit there with the ignition ran. And if I'm not mistaken, miles go up as you just sit there with the ignition ran. So y'all can only imagine like how long he was just sitting here casing out the joint, of course, on top of, you know, driving back and forth. But anyways, on June 2nd, Aaron ended up going to court for some traffic violations, and he ended up pleading guilty to that. So he probably had to just like pay some traffic tickets and go be on about his way. But it's crazy to me because all of this stuff, it happened on like May 25th, between May 25th and the 29th. And then you just go walk up in court like, oh yeah, hey y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and plead guilty to these little traffic violations because y'all don't know nothing about what I just did. So let me just go ahead and plead guilty to this real quick and then hand y'all this money and be about my way. Like, I don't know about y'all, but if I committed a crime, I'm not stepping in nobody's courthouse for nothing. I'm not stepping in nobody's courthouse for not a ticket. Y'all ain't finding me in nobody's court, legal, nothing. I'm just saying. So the very next day, on June 3rd, is when Kevin Hunter, remember that's Kayla's dad, said that he got a text message from Alicia. But the police don't believe that Alicia sent it. And obviously she didn't send it because her life was cut short by the 25th of May, and is now June 2nd or 3rd, I mean, and somebody's getting a text message from her, which obviously Kevin didn't know that at the time, but once the police looked into it, they was pretty much just like, yeah, no, she didn't send this. So obviously Aaron sent a message to Kevin to make it look like Alicia was still here. And then, so I guess after court, after he fixed all of those legal issues and texted Kevin on the 3rd, that's when he went to Georgia. So what he was doing in Georgia, why he was in Georgia, nobody knows. But that's where he went, and that's where the police found him on the 10th, questioned him, and let him go because at that point they had found Alicia, but they didn't really have any evidence or anything in regards to who had caused her death. And then on the 12th, he was taken. And on the 11th, he was taken into custody, and on the 12th, he was charged with first-degree homicide. And of course, Detroit police want him to be extradited from Georgia back to Michigan. However, and I didn't even know this, but you can actually fight extradition, and that's what Aaron was doing. And he pled not guilty at first. He like really just tried to distance himself from it, said that it wasn't him, he didn't do anything. Basically just denied all involvement. And then so his trial date was set, and then he had like, I think it was an arraignment or something like that, where they reintroduced the plea bargain that they gave him, which I'm not even 100% sure why they even offered him a plea bargain, but they offered him a plea agreement to plead guilty to the lesser charge of second-degree murder and felony possession of a firearm and one other thing, but I can't remember what it was. And he was like, no, I'm gonna go to trial. And then his lawyer, I believe, was like, okay, well, let us, think about it for a little bit. We're gonna give him, and the judge was like, okay, we'll give you a couple hours or the rest of the day, because his trial was set to start that next Tuesday of his arraignment. And then after the trial started, he wouldn't have had a chance to take the plea agreement. So his lawyers was like, let us think about it. And then they did, and for whatever reason he decided to go ahead and take the plea agreement. And so he ultimately ended up being sentenced to like 40 to 80 years in prison. And as for Timothy, for being an accessory after the fact, he was sentenced to 2 to 5 years, which quite frankly I don't believe is enough, but I do believe that they cut him a deal also, being as how he cooperated with the police and then gave the statement against his friend. So I think that's how he ended up with the 2 to 5 year sentence. And that all happened a year and some later, in September of 2015, that they were sentenced. And so, yeah, that is pretty much the end of the solved case of Alicia Fox. However, the children, they're still missing. Nobody knows where the children are. Kayla was only 6 years old when this happened. Christian was only 8 months when this happened. And so literally nobody knows what happened to the children. Now, Alicia's family, they don't think that Aaron would have hurt the kids in any way, shape, or form. So they do believe that the kids are somewhere out in Georgia, potentially with his family, and they have been given new names, or adopted, I guess you want to call it, but not like legally. And are just out here somewhere living and have no idea who they are. Some people believe the worst. Others don't know what to think. And I'm one of the ones who don't know what to think, because if you're this cold-hearted to end their mother's life, potentially in the presence of them, there's no telling what you're willing to do to them. But then at the same time, it's like you don't want to think that somebody could hurt kids, but we all know that it is very much so possible. So I'm leaning more towards, I really do pray that these kids are somewhere out here. Kayla will be 14 going on 15 now, and Christian will be going on 9 this year. And they were so young when it happened that they could have, well, Christian wouldn't have knew nothing anyways, but Kayla very well could have been brainwashed into believing that she is somebody completely different than she really is. And I don't know. It's just really sad, because first of all, you lose your child or your family member, and then you lose your grandchildren, but you don't even know what happened to them. Like, at least you have like a piece of closure, but then you really don't. And that's exactly how Alicia's mother feels, because she said that she couldn't properly lay her child to rest because she don't know what happened to her grandchildren. Her name is Alicia Fox, and she pretty much just said that they had a private ceremony for Alicia, but they couldn't really have the celebration for her life that she wanted to have because her grandchildren weren't there, and she wanted her grandchildren there to see their mother off. So she's still empty inside. She still is longing for, peace and closure, and just to know what happened to her grandchildren. And it really just sucks because Aaron is not being cooperative as far as the whereabouts of the kids go. He's not talking at all. He pretty much just be sitting there quiet, looking stupid in the face, just like, whatever, I don't know. Like, he know where the kids are, and unfortunately, since he not talking, the family may never know where the kids are. But here's all of their information. This is their missing posters flyer. I'll link the missing posters flyer in the description box as well. I just hope that, again, this family finds peace and closure, because these are babies we're talking about at the end of the day. Even though they're growing up, they're still babies, and they were babies when this case happened. And they deserve to know, one, who they are if they're still out here, and two, they deserve to know that their mother loved them dearly, and that they do have family out here who loves them as well and are still looking for them, or well, they might not even know they miss him. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. That's the end. That's all I got for this case. Thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I have a subscribe button here, and I have a playlist here if y'all like this type of content. Don't forget to share your case suggestions in the comments and your thoughts about this case. And yeah, y'all, I will see y'all in the next one.